Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but anyway, we're back. Better late than never, right? Guys, I think the last time we spoke, or actually that I actually came on here, I was a South African citizen, but now isn't those changing, guys? Like, what's in is so after 3 passports, well, four, I think, because obviously when I was a baby, I had a passport. After 4 passports, I am now a British citizen and I'm so excited. And so I thought I should just come on here and share with you my journey. I also shared on my Instagram that I would be doing a Q&A about my journey and just, questions that you guys have been dying to ask me in general. Of course, I would have to keep it short. And so if your question doesn't get answered today, don't you worry, we will answer it another time. So anyway, a bit of background of how we got here. So 2019, I decided to leave everything that I've known, and moved to the UK. I had lived in South Africa all my life. I had obviously traveled to other countries. I had traveled to the UK several times when I was dating my husband, and prior to dating him, I'd actually visited for the first time in 2010 for work. And that was the first time I got acquainted with this country. And I don't know whether it was then that I thought, okay, maybe I could live here, because when I visited that time, it was winter, it was cold, it was February, so it was very cold. But I think when I started dating my husband in 2016, I guess that thought really just got planted in my mind, in the sense that at some point we would need to decide where we would live, because it was a long distance relationship. So anyway, 5 years later, I'm here and I couldn't be happier. Of course, there's been a lot that has happened, throughout this journey, but I thought let me just break it down to you in terms of how what it took and how I got here in terms of costs, and also what I had to do. So yes, so 2019, I got married in 2018, and then a few months later decided to apply for the spousal visa for the UK. The spousal visa takes about 6 months to apply, and so I applied in December, and then in April, I got my response to say that my visa had been approved, and then I moved to the UK in May 2019. So when I moved here, in total, I spent about, I think it was £2,000, £2,400, I think it was. Let me just make sure. I don't want to give the wrong information. But I've got the costs in pounds, because that's how much they actually charged me. So yes. So in 2019, it was 1,515 plus 600. So this was for the visa and for the NHS fees. For the spousal visa, you need to pay visa and NHS fees, 1,515 plus 600. And so this was a 2.5 year visa, whereby after 2 years, which would be 2021, I would then renew again. And I paid 1,052 plus 1,560. I think by then they'd gone up. It was just after COVID, and a lot of things had gone up and so forth. So that's how much I paid. And then that was for another 2.5 years. So come 2024, I then was eligible to apply for permanent residence, which is also known as indefinite leave to remain. And so I paid for that application. This was in August of 2024. I paid 2,885. And then I had to also do a Life in the UK test, which was £50. And then also after doing the Life in the UK test, I had to pay for an appointment slot for to do my what do you call them? My thumbprints and all of that, which was £150. And then after my ILR was approved, so the PEMRES, the process, it can take up to 6 months. So mine was approved in November 2024. And so in December 2024, I then put in my application for citizenship, right? If you're on a spousal visa and your husband obviously is a British citizen, you can then, once your ILR has been granted, you can then proceed to apply for citizenship, once ILR is granted. So I did that and I paid £1,630 plus £429 for the letter for non-acquisition of citizenship, which is a South African thing, which I will explain as we go along. So that's how much I've paid so far, which comes close to just under £10,000. Yep, that is how much I've paid to get this citizenship. And that is just in monetary terms, but emotionally and yeah, financially I've paid that much, but obviously even more, obviously, to sustain myself and live here in the United Kingdom because it is not cheap. Anyway, before wasting any more time, I'm gonna shoot and go to your questions. You guys sent some questions. A few weeks ago, I did put up a poll. Well, yeah, on my stories, on my Instagram stories, that if you guys have any questions following my announcement about the citizenship that I just acquired. This was obviously before I got my passport. And I must just mention that, guys, I am applying for this passport after spending so much money on Schengen visas. Like, I think I've applied for a total of 8 Schengen visas. So yeah, this couldn't have come at a good time. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the questions. Yes, I found them. All right. Okay, so let's start. What did you study and where? Oh, wow. Okay. So, guys, so I studied initially when I passed matric, which is I think equivalent to what is it, A or O levels in the UK. I studied accounting. I studied accounting at the University of Johannesburg, and shortly after that, I then got a job in corporate in a Standard Bank, and I think I started my banking career there. And I guess for my first career, that's what I'd studied, and it got me, into it was a step into obviously corporate life and also the working life. And midway in my career, I decided to study industrial and organizational psychology, a BCom, and I studied up to honors level. And this was because I was in a leadership role. And so I wanted, okay, I had always wanted to study psychology, but I thought it was more suitable at that point in time because given what I was doing and the way I wanted my career to take shape, how I wanted my career to take shape, I thought, okay, I'd study that just to understand, organizational psychology a bit more, how the organization works, human behavior, and so forth. So it couldn't have come at a good time because then I was able to then move on to a change management role at a later stage. So that was really good on my side. And later on, I then, for the later part of my career, where I am at the moment, I am studying an apprenticeship. I'm actually in an apprenticeship for data analysis, and that's what I'm currently doing now. I've been doing that since last year. So in total, yes, I've done the accounting and I've done psychology, and now I've moved into tech, and I just want to, become more technical. And oh, I think this thing is off now. Yes, so the aim was to get more technical experience, and so I decided to study data analysis. Okay. What's your issue with dogs? Wow, this is so random. Anyway, growing up in Makwarera in Venda, guys, dogs were not pets. Like, you know how in the movies you'd find people waking up with their dogs in the house and so forth. Well, that's not how I grew up, Dogs were really just something of, they were a hazard, they were wild animals to me. So we grew up with no dogs at home, although our neighbors did have dogs. So I actually remember there was this dog called Makoko. That dog, guys, was so small. But if that dog finds you, you have to just run and run for your life and run to the nearest tree. So anyway, so that's my issue with dogs. Like, I don't have fond memories of dogs. For me, dogs were frightening. Yeah, you just had to run away. And again, When I then moved here, it was totally different because dogs here are like people. People love their dogs. People, um, take their dogs everywhere in the train, in the public transport, in restaurants, whatever. You'll find dogs everywhere. But the good thing about here is that they don't. Dogs live inside the home, so if you are like taking a walk outside, they're not gonna be barking at you and so forth. So it's much different, and I think I've sort of become accustomed to them. So I still am frightened of big dogs, but the small dogs are fine. Okay, please can you do a video laughing in dual citizenship? Wow. Well, that's crazy. Nyari asked this question actually. I want to move to abroad with my daughter. I'm a nail tech and got higher certificate in law, but don't know where to start and which agencies to apply when looking for a job in beauty. Okay, so I think generally, I don't know whether this question will come up, but generally, if you're looking for a job in the UK, you can reach out to www.gov.critical skills. In fact, go to the government website and search for critical skills. So there are some skills that are very critical for the economy of the UK to run and so forth, of which they are very, very, they're at a critical level here and they don't have them. So, for instance, nursing, I think accountants as well, to just name a few. So, I know for a fact that, and I think a few artisan skills. I know for a fact that they are looking for people and they are willing to sponsor you with a visa to come here with your family or alone, and work here, and in exchange, obviously, of getting the visa and ultimately the citizenship if you're here for a particular period. So please check that out. Okay, I might have missed your journey, and I'm sorry if this question sounds stupid. Why was it important for you to get British citizenship? What does it do for you? That is not a stupid question. I'm glad you asked that question, actually. Um, so for me personally, having I'd say uh, South African passport is a weaker passport in the sense that, given that the world has about 195 countries, South Africa, I think, allows you to can travel to around 120 countries, whereas with a British passport, you can travel to about 190 countries worldwide without having to apply for a visa. So for me, as someone who loves traveling, it means a lot, in the sense that I don't need to be worrying. I can just pick a country and decide to just book a flight and go. So for me, that is the number one thing that really made me I found very attractive about having the British passport. Second thing is, I guess, the fact that it gives you a lot of freedom to move around. So when you've got a British passport, you can live anywhere. You're not I'm not stuck here in the UK like when I was just on a visa. So I can live anywhere but still have my British passport, sorry, my residence, you understand. So again, there's also jobs that are just unique to British citizens, like if you want to run for office, like if you want to maybe go into politics and all of that. Not that I do, but what I'm trying to say is that there are particular companies as well outside of the UK that find someone with a British passport or a stronger passport more attractive to hire, because they are able to, I don't know, maybe go to certain countries and so forth. But they are countries, I know there are the companies that actually pay better if you hold a particular passport. So for me, it's being able to access all those opportunities, if the opportunities present themselves. And so I thought being able to get a second citizenship, well, why not? Because in this world of global we're in a global world, and you just don't know what can change tomorrow. Maybe the UK might not be desirable to live here anymore, and this passport can allow me to actually go and live somewhere else. Maybe South Africa, maybe, so I just think it gives you a lot of options. Okay, is the British citizenship transferable, um, i.e., by birth, marriage, and so forth and so forth? It's not transferable. However, you can acquire it. So, for instance, if you can acquire it maybe by birth. Obviously, say for instance, I give birth to a child. That child would obviously have the British citizenship because their mommy is a British citizen. Hello. Secondly, if you can acquire British citizenship by descent. So, for instance, if you in your lineage your ancestors had British citizenship, so maybe my great grandmother or my parents or something like that, I can definitely apply for citizenship and I can get British citizenship on an ancestral visa first, and then after a few years then be able to be eligible for to apply for the passport. The other way is to get British citizenship through spousal. So if your husband is um, a British citizen, then you get married and then you get citizenship. And again, also that would be through the spousal visa. The other way would be if you get a skills visa and you come and work in the UK and then ultimately get permanent residence and then you'd be eligible to apply for citizenship. So yes, those are some of the ways to get British citizenship. How long did it take for your application for retention of SA citizenship to be approved? So, I need to just mention that when you are a South African citizen, right, when you get a second citizenship, you need to inform the South African government that you are about to acquire a second citizenship so that you can retain this one. Otherwise, if you don't tell them about yours, if you don't apply to retain this one, you will lose this one and only have this one left. So it's very important for everyone to know that you need to apply for citizenship retention. I mean, for South African retention of citizenship, and this is how I went about it. So you've asked how long did it take. So what happens is that I'm gonna just give this information for someone maybe who might not know about it. So what happens is that shortly after I applied for my citizenship, British citizenship, once they gave me approval that I had been approved to get the citizenship, I then put in an application with the South African government, which is at it's www in the DIRCO website. Everything is there in terms of what is required. So one of the things that they require if you are getting UK citizenship is that the UK government writes a letter. It's a non-acquisition letter, where it's saying that it's a letter from the UK government or UK Home Office saying that you've not acquired your citizenship yet. And this letter is part of your application to retain your citizenship with South Africa. So that letter was £420 that I had to pay. I know it's a lot of money. This letter, you can apply for it even in South Africa. I think in South Africa, if you apply for it, it's much cheaper. I applied for it here in the UK and it was obviously 420 British pounds. So you get that letter, you complete the other forms that are required, and then you submit that application to the South African High Commission in England, in the embassy. And then within 2 weeks, I think they say they'll respond within 15 days or so. So they responded to me with a letter to say, okay, this is a letter that you are retaining, you've retained your South African citizenship. Once I got that letter, then I was able to then book my citizenship ceremony with the Home Office here in the UK to say, okay, since you've approved my citizenship, I'm now, proceeding to now book the citizenship ceremony, for me to then become a British citizen. So yeah, so that's what happened. And then it is after the British citizenship ceremony that on that day that you get your citizenship certificate that is required for you to apply for your passport. Okay. All right. When did you move to the UK? I moved to the UK in 2019, May. Would you advise someone to relocate to the UK early in their career or mid-career? You know what? I think moving here is a very personal decision. It's not something that you can copy and paste. So my decision would probably be different to your decision. Personally, I'd say it's better to move very early in your career, because if you're moving even midway, I think, to be honest, I think UK offers a lot of opportunities that you might possibly not have in South Africa. Again, when you come here, you need to be prepared to start from scratch. In some instances, like I did, I had to start from scratch in the sense that um, I wasn't coming as I didn't get a transfer from South Africa. I had to come and start looking for a new job here. So some people, when they look at your CV, they're like, oh, okay, you've worked here in South Africa, you do have the experience, but they're like, oh, you don't have any UK experience. So they sort of like think, okay, um, we don't want to start you at this level. It has happened to me. It has happened to some people that I know as well. But you can always catch up. But what I'm saying is, be prepared to start from scratch. And again, to this question that says, when should you come? Some people come at later on in life and they still make it. Um, what I can say is that do your research. There's groups on Facebook about people that have been here and actually left because they didn't like it and so forth. And there are also people that are here in the UK and they really like it and they're enjoying it. Again, don't take what someone says at face value. People's experiences are different. It depends. Are you coming here? Are you a single person? Are you coming here with family? Are you coming with kids? So it depends. It really depends. But one thing I can say is that personally for me, it has really been a rewarding experience. I've grown so much. I couldn't have had it any other way. And I do love the UK in terms of I think there's a lot of good things that have happened to me here, and also I see the growth that has taken place, in my personal and also in my career. I think this country allows you to really, they look more. I think in terms of a career, moving careers or maybe changing careers, you can easily do that here if you do show that you've got the potential, and people are willing to give you an opportunity. And again, also they look at do you have transferable skills and so forth. So what I can say is that do your research and yeah, do your research and decide if it's for you and all of that. And again, also it's not easy. You need to be prepared to start from scratch if you're moving to the UK. I had to start from scratch, and again, also there's a lot of other things that you're gonna have to forego when you move here. So it's not like home. But yeah, I'd say do it. Did you apply for the letter of retention of citizenship in the UK or in SA? If SA, please share. I didn't apply for the letter of retention in SA. I applied for the letter in the UK. But there's a friend of mine who's applied for it in South Africa. And she applied for it, I think, a few weeks ago. And I think it went well. And I think she didn't pay the price that I paid. I will find out. Excuse me, I'll find out for you. I think you can inbox me on Instagram if you want the answer. Okay. I want to travel with you. Okay, that is very random. Anyway, so I do solo traveling. I also travel with my husband, and I also travel with family, and I travel also with friends. I'm looking to start a travel agency, and maybe we can travel together. So keep a lookout. How many countries have you visited? So, with my green mamba, with my green passport, I've traveled 36 countries, and I'm very happy for that. Because, guys, even though we've got hurdles along the way where you have to apply for your visas and all of that, don't let that get to you. There's other countries that you can visit without having to apply for visas. But of course, if you want to visit your Europe and your US and so forth, you need to apply for visas. So don't let that deter you. Don't be discouraged. What made you move abroad? I'm scared. Okay. So I think I started working at 20 years of age, right? In corporate. And when the opportunity came, I think I was 32 or 31, 32, I think. And I think I was tired. I'd worked throughout from 20 years. 12 years straight, and I think I needed a break. And also I was at a point in my life where I was like, there has to be something more. There must be something out there. And I started deliberating, should I change careers, should I move into something else? And I did try to move into something, but again it didn't really work out. So I wanted a break. I wanted to figure out life. I wanted to see what else there is, and I got exactly what I wanted and more. Yeah, and yeah, I think I got what I wanted and more. I didn't think there was going to be COVID. So COVID came and I lost my job. I was unemployed, and then I went into a different field totally. I went into healthcare. I worked as a carer, and it really, I think that was a life-changing point. It was a very, what is it? It changed the trajectory of my life in the sense that working with people that end of life or palliative, it woke me up. It gave me, I guess I won't even say it's a sense of purpose, but it also makes you realize how fragile life is. So it woke me up in the sense I realized you need to do what you can with the time that you're given it. So I did that. And shortly after that, I went into creating content and just traveling, living my life, and so forth. And then after that, I decided, okay, it was time to go back to corporate because I also obviously needed something more stable, you know. Um, but I can say that I got exactly what I had signed up for, although it did throw me in the deep end. No one really thinks they're gonna, like, get in. I didn't think COVID was gonna happen, but COVID happened and it changed a lot of things. But yeah, one thing I've learned about life is you can always bounce back. And yeah, so that's what made me move abroad. And I'd say, you know what, you are scared. Scared of what? Fail, guys. Fear is something that is not tangible. You cannot touch it because it doesn't exist. It's just in your head. And again, if you are scared, what is on the other side of fear? I think regret is worse than fear, to be honest. So yeah. Have you left SA for good now that you have citizenship? Of course not. No. That's why I've retained my citizenship. Because there's no way I'm going to leave South Africa for good. I've got family there. My parents are there. My sisters, my brother is there, So my relatives, my friends are there as well. So there's absolutely no way. My life is, I think a huge aspect of my life is still in the UK, and I mean it's still in South Africa, and there's absolutely no way. I'm definitely coming back. Watch this space. You never know. Congratulations. Thank you. I love your vlogs. Please keep sharing. Oh, will do. There's other questions here. I think they're repetitive. But I think I wanted to keep this very short. I really don't want to go um over what we're 27 minutes. I think I'd really like to wrap up here. Thank you so much for sending your questions through. I will maybe make another time to respond to more questions, but I'd just like to thank you guys. Yeah, it's been great, and I'll see you back on YouTube because I think I need to make it a thing. Okay. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you've got more questions, leave them on the comments or inbox me on Instagram. And please subscribe. Like and share. Toodles!